Listen up, monsters of the Midway, because what is happening right now at Hallis Hall is not a drill. This is not your typical off-season noise. This is the kind of energy that precedes a championship run. The kind of buzz that makes the rest of the NFC North nervous. The kind of moment where you put down your deep dish, sit up straight, and pay very close attention. The Chicago Bears are building something real, something dangerous, and the moves being made right now in Lake Forest are the kind that legends are made of. We have got a trade saga involving one of the most terrifying pass rushers in the entire NFL that has more twists than a Hollywood thriller. We have got a first-round rookie who just made it official and is already turning heads at Hallis Hall. And we have got one of the most passionate debates in Chicago sports history simmering at a full boil, a retired number debate that has the entire fan base split right down the middle. So Stroud, who plays with the kind of relentless fury that makes offensive linemen have nightmares the night before a game. His name and the Chicago Bears have been intertwined all offseason in one of the wildest trade soap operas we have seen in years, and the drama is far from over. Here is how wild this story actually got. Crosby came within 48 hours of being traded to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks before the entire deal collapsed after his physical. The concerns centered on long-term durability in his knee, not his ability to play in the upcoming season. Think about that for a second. This man packed his bags, flew all the way to Baltimore, went through an entire battery of medical testing, prepared himself mentally and physically for a new chapter of his career, and then the whole thing blew up in less than 2 days. That is not just a trade falling apart. That is a gut punch of historic proportions. Ravens GM Eric DeCosta came out and said he was gutted by the failed deal, though Baltimore eventually moved on and signed Trey Hendrickson in free agency. But here is where it gets spicy for Bears fans. While all that chaos was unfolding in Baltimore, Ryan Poles was watching very, very carefully. Our general manager did not wait for reporters to ask him about it. He stepped up and confirmed what many of us had suspected. Poles admitted directly that the Bears were interested in trading for Crosby before the Ravens deal went down, saying the team checked into it, looked to see if it made sense, and had some dialogue. That is not a denial. That is not a polite pass. That is a general manager telling you in the most diplomatic way possible that the Chicago Bears were absolutely in the mix for the most coveted pass rusher on the trade market. Poles speak, for those of you who have been following this man long enough, translates directly to "we want him," and we are still watching this situation like a hawk. During the 2025 season, Crosby recorded 10 sacks while playing through a knee injury that ultimately left him with a torn meniscus and bone and cartilage damage, forcing him into surgery in January. Let that sink in for a moment. 10 sacks. Playing hurt. On a Raiders team that was going nowhere fast. That is not just production. That is the kind of warrior mentality that you build a defense around. That is the kind of player who makes Caleb Williams' life infinitely easier, because when your defense can actually get to the quarterback, your offense does not have to be perfect every single drive. Now, the honest truth is, there are real obstacles here. Crosby carries cap hits of roughly $35 million and $38 million in the next 2 seasons, and the Bears already have 3 of their 6 largest cap hits belonging to defensive linemen in Montez Sweat, Deo Odeyingbo, and Grady Jarrett. That is real money, and Ryan Poles is too smart a general manager to blow up the salary structure he has carefully built just to chase one player. But do not let the financial complexity make you think this is dead. Far from it. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Bears have not given up the dream of a Maxx Crosby opening, saying they kicked the tires on it and are hoping they can buy low now that Crosby is back with the Raiders following the failed Baltimore deal. That is an organization that is engaged, that is paying attention, and that is ready to pounce if the price drops to a level that makes sense. And here is the thing that makes this fascinating. One proposed trade package has the Bears sending Shamar Turner, a 2027 first-round draft pick, and a 2028 third-rounder to Las Vegas in exchange for Crosby. That is a package that keeps the Bears competitive now while not completely gutting their future. It is aggressive, but not reckless, which is exactly the kind of calculated swing that Poles has shown he is willing to take when the moment is right. The mid-season trade deadline is also very much in play here. If the Bears are sitting at 4-2 or 5-3 and contending for the NFC's top seed, while our young edge rushers have not taken the next step, Poles would be looking at every available option to push this team over the top. And if the Raiders are limping along toward another lottery pick, which, let's be real, seems about as inevitable as winter in Chicago, there is every reason to believe these two franchises end up back at the negotiating table. Caleb Williams himself was asked about Crosby after the Bears beat the Raiders during the 2025 season and called him probably the best player he had ever played against so far in his career. When your franchise quarterback is openly giving that kind of praise to a guy the whole league is linking to your team, you better believe the front office is taking notes. This story is not over, not by a long shot. The Maxx Crosby saga has more chapters left to write, and at least one of them could be set in navy and orange. Now let us pivot to the news that has Hollis Hall buzzing with the kind of clean, positive energy that every fan base needs heading into minicamp. Dylan Thieneman, the Bears' first-round pick and the 25th selection in the entire 2026 NFL Draft, has officially signed his rookie contract, and he is ready to go to work. Thieneman's deal comes in at 4 years and $18, $75 million fully guaranteed, with a fifth-year option for the 2030 season. Done. Clean, no drama, no holdout, no negotiating games. Just a young man who wants to play football for the Chicago Bears and is ready to prove he belongs. At just 21 years old, Thieneman became the first defensive player taken in the first round by Chicago since Roquan Smith was drafted in 2018. Let that land. 8 years since this organization invested a first-round pick on the defensive side of the ball. That tells you everything about how seriously Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson view the secondary as a priority, heading into a season where this team genuinely believes it can compete for a Super Bowl. This is not a luxury pick. This is an urgent, necessary investment in a defense that finished the 2025 season ranked 29th in the league in sack rate and desperately needs playmakers at every level. What makes Thieneman so exciting is not just the production he put up at Oregon, which was phenomenal, but it is the kind of player he is and the versatility he brings to a Ben Johnson defense that is built on making opponents uncomfortable. Thieneman played for Purdue for 2 years before transferring to Oregon, where he earned first-team All-Big Ten honors and helped the Ducks go 13-2 while advancing to the college football playoff semifinals, finishing the season with 95 tackles and 2 interceptions. That is not a guy who disappeared in big moments. That is a player who rose to the occasion on one of the biggest stages in college football and delivered. At the NFL Combine, Thieneman posted a blazing 4.35-second 40-yard dash and a 41-inch vertical jump, numbers that immediately put him in the conversation as one of the most athletically gifted safeties to enter the league in years. That kind of speed at the safety position is not just impressive, it is transformative. It means he can cover the kind of elite tight ends and athletic wide receivers that the modern NFL throws at you every single week. It means he can function as a rangy center fielder in deep coverage and still come down and hammer ball carriers in the run game. He figures to earn a starting spot next to free agent pickup Kobe Bryant at some point this offseason. Yo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And if training camp is any indication of how quickly this kid is adapting to the NFL game, that starting spot might come sooner rather than later. Both Thieneman and second-round center Logan Jones attended rookie minicamp and both weeks of OTAs before getting their contracts done ahead of mandatory minicamp, which tells you everything you need to know about the kind of professionalism and commitment these young players are bringing to the building. No distractions, no agents playing hardball at the last second. Just two guys who want to learn the playbook, build chemistry with their teammates, and contribute to something bigger than themselves. That is the culture Ryan Poles has built, and it shows. Getting your top 2 picks locked up and fully integrated before mandatory minicamp is not a small thing. It is a competitive advantage. While some teams around the league are still playing contract chicken with their rookies, the Bears have their guys in the building, getting reps, building relationships with veterans, and soaking up everything Ben Johnson and the coaching staff are throwing at them. In a league where chemistry and familiarity can be the difference between 4-13 and 13-4, this kind of organizational efficiency matters enormously. Now, for the third and final chapter of today's breakdown, let us wade into the debate that has Bears Twitter in an absolute frenzy. The discussion that has bar arguments happening across the entire city of Chicago. The question that cuts to the very heart of what this franchise means to the people who love it. If the Bears were to retire one more number, whose should it be? And my answer, the only correct answer, the answer that every reasonable Bears fan eventually arrives at if they think about it long enough, is number 54, Brian Urlacher. Look, we already have 14 retired numbers hanging at Soldier Field. From Bronco Nagurski to Mike Ditka, the Bears have honored their legends with a reverence that is unmatched in the NFL. This is a franchise that takes its history seriously, and that is one of the things that makes being a Bears fan such a profound experience. But if we are going to add one more number to that sacred collection, it has to be a player who meets every single standard of what it means to be a franchise icon. And Urlacher meets every one of those standards, and then some. This man redefined what a middle linebacker could be in the modern NFL. At a time when offenses were getting faster, when tight ends were becoming weapons, when running backs were splitting out wide and creating mismatches that traditional linebackers simply could not handle, Brian Urlacher changed the equation entirely. His combination of size, speed, instincts, and football intelligence was something the league had genuinely never seen at the position before. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Super Bowl finalist, and the unquestioned heart and soul of the last Bears defense that made the entire NFL afraid. When you think about the 2006 Bears, the team that thundered through the NFC and made it to Super Bowl XLI, the player whose name is synonymous with that run is Brian Urlacher. He was the face of that defense. He was the player who set the tone on every single snap, who communicated the scheme, who made the adjustments, who came up with the game-changing play when the moment demanded it. His jersey is still one of the most visible at every Bears home game, nearly a decade after his retirement. That kind of staying power is not manufactured. That is genuine love from a fan base that recognizes what this man gave to this city and this organization. Kids who were not even born when Urlacher was playing his best football still know his name, still want to wear his number, still understand that he represents something essential about what it means to be a Chicago Bear. That is the definition of a legend. That is why 54 belongs on that wall at Soldier Field. Right alongside the other greats who gave everything they had to this franchise. Some people will argue for other numbers, and those arguments have their merits. But when you stack the totals, when you look at the impact, the legacy, the cultural footprint, and the way this player transformed a position and made a fan base fall completely in love with him during his prime years, there is simply no stronger case. Urlacher is the one. Retire 54 and let every future Bear who longs for that number know exactly what kind of standard they would need to reach to deserve it. What an offseason it has been, and we are only just getting started. The Maxx Crosby saga has enough remaining drama to fuel an entire season of storylines. Dylan Thieneman is ready to terrorize opposing quarterbacks from the safety position and give Ben Johnson the versatile weapon he needs to build a truly elite defense. And the number retirement debate is one of those beautiful, passionate conversations that reminds us all why being a Bears fan is unlike anything else in professional sports. This city breathes football. It always has. And right now, heading into a season with Caleb Williams under center, a revamped roster, and a front office that is clearly not done making moves, the Windy City is about to breathe fire. If this content fired you up, if you felt that Bears energy coursing through you as we broke all of this down today, do me a solid and smash that like button right now. It costs you nothing and it means everything to this channel. Hit subscribe so you never miss a single update from Halas Hall, because this offseason is moving fast and every week brings something new worth talking about. And most importantly, get down to the comments and let me know where you stand. Do you want Ryan Poles to pull the trigger on Max Crosby at the trade deadline? Is Dylan Thieneman going to be a star from day one, or does he need a year to develop? And whose number do you think deserves to go up at Soldier Field next? This is your community, this is your team, and your voice matters. Bear down, Chicago. We are coming for it all.